We've talked about the mobile launcher that carried the Apollo and Shuttle, as well as the VAB where they were assembled, but not the machine that moved the spacecraft and their launchers around. When I heard that NASA had the world's biggest crawler transporter, I said I want to see it. I thought they were talking about crawlers, which is a kind of swirly donut. If they had a transporter just for crawlers, there are either lots of them or they are super big, and in either case it sounded tasty. Earlier, smaller rockets could roll from their building to the pad on rails, but the weight of the Saturn V would be too heavy to support on narrow wheels, and they considered transporting the rockets on barges through canals to the launch pad until someone had them look up how much weight a big mining excavator could carry on its treads. There are four pairs of treads like tanks on each corner, and each metal tread, called a shoe, weighs about a ton. The crawler itself weighs over 3,000 tons and can carry 3 times that amount. It has 16 375 horsepower traction motors for driving, along with four 1,000 kilowatt electric generators powered by two 16-cylinder locomotive diesel engines to get it to move. All that power only gets it to about 1 mile per hour, sometimes faster when empty or less when fully loaded. Two more diesel engines and two 1,500 kilowatt generators power all the other systems. There is a cab at each end because it drives in one direction or the other instead of turning around. There is also a control room inside where people beside the drivers read instruments to see how systems are doing. The crawler only travels on a special path covered with rock called the crawlerway. When it goes by, you can see that rock gets compacted. When it travels, there is a water truck spraying the crawlerway to keep dust down, and many people walking alongside or underneath to let the driver know if anything is not okay. There are spots where roads cross the crawler path. When the crawler is not in use, they bulldoze the stones off the pavement, but then spread them back and close the road when the crawler needs it. They built two crawlers to support the Apollo project in the 1960s and named them CT-1 and CT-2 because the current Artemis SLS vehicle and its solid rocket boosters is heavier than the Apollo Saturn V. They had to upgrade CT-2 to carry it. If you don't see the name on the cab, you can tell CT-2 because it has an Artemis logo and CT-1 does not. Also because of that difference, it is CT-2 and only CT-2 designated by Guinness World Records as the world's heaviest self-powered vehicle. The launch pad is elevated above the surrounding area to allow for rocket exhaust to be directed away from the launch site while the engines are ramping up to full power. This means that the crawler has to climb a slope while carrying about 9,000 tons. 5 degrees isn't much of an incline, about an inch up for every foot sideways. You have probably ridden your bike up hills twice as steep without paying attention. Everyone knows bears love snow tubing, but if there was a snowstorm at KSC, I probably wouldn't bother bringing mine out to the pad because it either wouldn't slide or I'd just sink into the powder. But it's quite a feat to climb up a hill like this carrying 10,000 tons and keeping it level. It would be like taking your school gym and lifting one edge of it up to the second floor. And did I say there was a 100-meter tower on the roof? JEL reminds me of a wiggly dessert, but in the crawler world it stands for jacking, elevation, and leveling. There are powerful hydraulic cylinders like those that lift a dump truck bed. Each corner can move independently and there are sensors to tell how level the surface is. They have to be extra careful at the beginning of the slope where they go from level to tilted, then when they go from tilted to level at the top. Check out this time-lapse video of Artemis 1 where the sunrise gives you an idea of how long they spent to take that last part of the journey to the pad. Being able to lift the platform up and down as much as 6 feet also lets the crawler go beneath the platform to pick it up, then later lower it on fixed pedestals at the destination. An indication of the lifespan of these vehicles is the different cars and employee outfits between Apollo and Artemis. Back in 1977, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers designated the Crew 2 crawlers as a National Historic Mechanical Engineering Landmark for its work with the Apollo program, without realizing they were just getting started in their careers with 4 decades of shuttle launches in the future and now Artemis. Will Artemis be the crawler's last hurrah, or like its contemporary, the B-52 bomber, will it be operated in the future by people not yet born? After all, they have only a bit over 2,000 miles on the odometer. It's possible that the vehicle that takes the first humans to Mars will travel to the launch pad the same way as the one that took the first humans to the moon, riding on a half-acre steel platform carried by a coal mine-inspired land barge that will be old enough to collect Social Security.